In 1966, the Chicago Bears drafted the son of a Pennsylvania coal miner in the 4th round. Doug Buffone would go on to play 15 seasons for the Bears and later be named one of the 100 greatest Bears of all time. His allegiance to the Bears never waned, even when he took to the microphone and witnessed some horrendous Bears teams.
The fact is, there's not the fear put into them, because this game is a lot about fear. You either do the job, or you go home and go sell hamburgers at McDonald's.
Doug told it like it is, and that's part of the reason his nephew John has dedicated this show to Doug. And now John Buffone is spreading Buffone-branded beratements just like his uncle.
Win the football game. You're the head coach. I don't care what you have your fingers in. I don't care what you're meddling in. You're the head freaking coach. We get it. You're the most important guy on the staff. You don't have to keep trying to legitimize that.
And he's got pep talks too.
I love this team. And I know everyone watching and listening loves this team. So while we may be pessimistic and cynical, every one of us still has hope that the stars will align at some point. And if that ever does happen, you'll be glad you stuck around.
John is telling it like it is here on Buffone 55. And joining John are Alyssa Barbieri, managing editor of USA Today's NFL Wires, including Bears Wire, and also Danny Shimon, lead game and draft analyst for the Barroom Network. Buckle up and bear down. This is Buffone 55, The John Buffone Show.
Hello and welcome to another edition of Buffone 55. It's a fast-paced approach at breaking down the Chicago Bears. I'm John Buffone, and with me as always is my co-host and producer, Alyssa Barbieri. Alyssa, long time no see. A lot has happened since the last time I was on this show. Like, I don't know, the Bears rattling off back-to-back wins. I want to thank you so much for filling in while I was gone. You, Danny, and Aldo are rock stars. I felt the need to get back here as soon as possible before the network realized that they don't even need a Buffone for Buffone 55. How you doing?
Oh, stop with that. But yeah, thanks. No, it was fun stepping into the host role for a little bit, but it just wasn't the same without you. We're so thrilled to have you back, especially ahead of this huge Week 18 game against the Packers with a chance to end the season on a high note and keep them out of the playoffs. So I'm ready for this one. Glad to have you back in the saddle and to talk about another Bears win. Their 7th. What's happening?
We'll see. This is the last preview show that we're doing of the season. The season has flown by. It does not feel that long ago, looking like that we were back in September saying, 8, 9 wins, and then we were killing ourselves in October. And then we came back and look at us now. We're on the brink of that 8-win season, but we have a lot to break down. It's our final preview of the show, not the last show of the season, but our final preview show of the season. Like I said, it's incredible how time flies. But just in case, Alyssa, this is someone's first time ever watching this show, you picked a great time because the season's almost over. But still, thank you for tuning in. Can you let everyone know how Buffone 55 works?
Of course. So we will begin with the classic B55 segment. That's when I ask John 5 questions about the Bears, and his responses must be completed within 55 seconds. The 55 is John's way of paying tribute to the great Doug Buffone, his uncle, his mentor, and a man who played 15 seasons with the Bears and wore number 55. Then we're going to bring on Danny Shimon for a free-for-all that we call Buffone's Basement, where the three of us are going to break down this last win and look ahead to the Bears' next matchup, which, of course, is the Green Bay Packers, with a little help from Aldo Gandia, who has a full report on the Bears' biggest rival. So, John, the Bears want to go out strong this year. I assume you want to do the same.
Well, after a 2-week break, I'm either going to be rested or rusty. So let's see how it goes. And just to answer Berlissimo's question in the chat room, no, this is not a tan. This is razor burn. I shaved for the first time in a few weeks, and all of a sudden my face turned really red. Apparently, my gentle skin can't handle the razor anymore. So that's why my skin looks a little blush. But I'm rolling with it. It's a look.
I'm gonna have to send you my skincare routine, but
Please do.
we're gonna dive right into it. It's time for our B55 segment. I'm gonna ask John 5 questions, and he's somehow gonna keep his responses within 55 seconds. So let's go ahead and get it. John, way back in September, you said you'd be fuming about the first Green Bay matchup until they played again in January. Well, it's January, and the Bears get another shot at the Packers this Sunday. So let's look at this 4 months later. Are you still fuming? 55 seconds are on the clock. Let's get fired up.
Well, yeah, I'm still fuming. Do I look like a guy that calms down easily? There are just more layers to my anger now. Yeah, I was mad in September. They lost to Green Bay at home. They didn't turn the page on the rivalry. They made Jordan Love look like Tom Brady. And it was just the appetizer to a horrific start to the season. But what really grinds my gears is that this matchup should mean something very different. At best, the roles should be reversed, and at worst, it should be a winner-take-all situation. If they don't blow the game against Denver, if they don't blow the game against Detroit, if they don't blow the game against the Browns, we are talking about a very different Week 18 scenario. And I'm not saying they had to win all those games, but I think the chances of them not winning at least one of those games was something like under 1%, which is like the most Bears thing ever. So yeah, I'm fuming because we could have had Bears and Packers at Lambeau Field with the playoffs on the line, but instead, all they can be is spoilers.
Man, you just like made me even angrier than I was going into this game, and I still was, because like you, I'm not a calm sports person at all. But like you said, this game, it's crazy because after the first, obviously it hurt for a different reason in week one, because there was so much high expectations for what this team could be, and it was supposed to be, when the tide finally turned with this rivalry. And now it's like, well, the Bears should be leading the NFC North right now and be playing for a chance to win an NFC North title. Instead, they're going to be at home for the playoffs, but at least they do have a chance to knock Green Bay out of the postseason. But yeah, it's crazy because, I talked about it a few times where it feels like this season feels like two different acts, like two completely different seasons. And I completely forgot just like that happened this year, like that Packers loss, and just how brutal it was. It feels like a lifetime ago, but thinking about it and like rehashing it and going back and watching it to prepare for this week and stuff, I'm just as angry as I was right after that now. And I want the Bears to go out there and beat them. And I think that they're better equipped, I think, to beat the Packers this time around. So we'll see if they can get it done. But yeah, just the thought of this game just infuriates me.
Yeah, they are a different team, and like you said, I think they're better equipped. They're not all teams are better at the end of the year. Like the Bears are better than they were at the beginning of the year. So we'll see. This is essentially the Bears Super Bowl. This is the last game of the season, and the only thing they're playing for is pride in the rivalry and potentially knocking Green Bay out of the playoffs.
And hopefully potentially shutting Aaron Rodgers up. So let's move to the biggest talking point amongst Bears fans right now, and that is, of course, the quarterback. Justin Fields had another good game, passing for 268 yards with a touchdown, and he added 45 yards on the ground and a score. With all of the talk around Fields this year, do you think he has played his way into returning to the Bears next year as the starting quarterback? 55 seconds. Good luck.
Well, let's just say I'm happy I'm not the one making this decision, because it is absolutely a franchise-defining and probably a career-defining decision that Ryan Poles has to make. And this is kind of weird because from here on out, Justin Fields is going to get compared to Caleb Williams. Normally, quarterbacks are just compared to the other quarterbacks in their draft class, but people will be monitoring the trajectory of Caleb Williams versus Justin Fields, because if Poles trades Fields and he lights it up in Atlanta or Seattle or wherever he goes, Poles will be the guy who traded Justin Fields away because his staff just couldn't cultivate his talent. But if he keeps Fields and he just remains a good to very good quarterback and Caleb Williams turns into a generational quarterback, Poles will be the guy that passed on Caleb Williams. Now, there's a chance that Williams is a bust and Fields becomes a top 5 quarterback, and that creates a lot more scenarios. But I really do understand both sides. The haul you can get for the number 1 pick is so appetizing, and Fields has been playing well, but you can reset the rookie pay cycle at quarterback and maybe have a generational talent. I will be anxiously waiting.
Yeah, no, it's interesting. I completely get both sides, just like you said, because, it feels like if you go like online on Twitter and like people are like taking definitive sides, and sometimes it gets a little ugly. But here's the thing. Obviously, I want Justin Fields back next year. I think that what Ryan Poles could get for this number 1 pick and how he could use that to build around Fields and to build this team up and put them in a position to contend for the NFC North next year. I'm sorry. I think obviously you kind of look at Caleb Williams. Yes, he could be a generational talent, but we as Bears fans know there's no such guarantee. And we know how bad they are at drafting quarterbacks. And it feels like, and developing quarterbacks, which is a big thing as well. So I don't envy Ryan Poles, but ultimately I will respect the decision that he makes. He's either going to be really convicted on Caleb Williams and thinking that he is going to be the guy to lead this team to the championship, or he's confident that Justin Fields can get them there with a little more help.
Yeah, I like Justin Fields. I think that he can continue to grow and be a really, really, really good quarterback. And I would love to see, and not to mention that you will get for that number one pick for someone that wants to move up and take Caleb Williams, because very rarely do you get the number one overall pick 2 years in a row and you trade it both times. So we'll see what they want to do. I mean, they pulled off a great heist last year by trading that to Carolina. They take Bryce Young, which I'm really glad that they had the foresight not to do that. And then they get the big haul for that, and they could potentially turn that into another big haul because Carolina was so bad this year that they can maybe get multiple first round picks in multiple years. So it's incredible to see what Poles is able to could potentially stockpile here. But like I said, if for whatever reason, whether it's coaching or, Fields himself or whatever, if it doesn't work out, Poles will be the guy that traded the number one overall pick 2 times when he had his choice of quarterbacks and it ended up not working out. So I can understand the pressurized situation that he's under right now.
Yeah, and like you said, this is going to be a move that will impact this franchise for the next decade, right? Depending on whatever move he does make. So he needs to make sure that it's the right one. I think it's a position that, he's excited to be in. Obviously, you have the number one pick back-to-back years, so you can go a number of different directions this year. So we'll see. But again, I'm going to trust in Ryan Poles because so far, outside a couple of moves, including the Chase Claypool trade, he's done a really good job really building this team the way that he wants to have it. So we'll see. But this is obviously going to be a hot topic of conversation throughout the offseason. But yeah, of course. And then we're going to be monitoring it throughout as well. So another guy trying to prove that he should be around next year is head coach Matt Eberflus. The Bears have more than doubled their win total from last year, just crazy, and have shown signs of improvement. So, John, has Eberflus proved he deserves another year? 55 seconds and go.
Look, I've been saying that Ryan Poles will be looking for reasons to keep Eberflus, and I get it. He will have more than doubled his win total from last year. The defense is playing really well. We are seeing improvements on both sides of the ball, and the players seem to be playing hard for him. I just still have my reservations, and I think that's okay. If he comes back, will he be calling the defense, or will the new defensive coordinator get that responsibility? And they risk the possibility of the defense looking like it did when Alan Williams was calling plays. And like I said before, a few mismanaged games can wreck a season, and we saw how the games were handled against Denver, Detroit, and Cleveland. I think he's a great coordinator. I'm just not sold on him being a team CEO and properly handling everything that falls underneath that head coaching title. One thing probably is for certain, though. We will know the future of Matt Eberflus before we know the future of Justin Fields, and that could indicate which direction the Bears are going. If Eberflus is retained, I think that's a sign that Justin Fields could be sticking around. If they let Eberflus go, it could be quite the opposite. But I think I'm leaning towards the Bears are probably going to retain him at this point.
Yeah, I'd lean that way as well. And just like you said, it feels like in so many ways that Matt Eberflus and Justin Fields are connected. And I think that's what we want as Bears fans, is to avoid that cycle where, you draft a rookie quarterback and then fire the head coach, and then the coach inherits the quarterback. So either clean house entirely or run it back one more year. I understand because it's Caleb Williams, right, being the quarterback. I mean, you could afford another year, right? You can draft another quarterback next year. So you could run it back with Matt Eberflus. But like you said, I do have my reservations about him, and it's because of those blown leads. Like you said, the Bears should be in the playoffs right now. They should be in the playoffs with a chance to win the division. And we should be preparing for that instead of preparing for our wrap-up show next week. And I don't know, like I still not very confident about him as head coach, but clearly his players have confidence in him. Ryan Poles has confidence in him. Great defensive coordinator. What he's done with that defense, can't take that away from him. But I don't know. I feel like I'm getting eerily similar vibes to 2021, where it's gonna like I don't want it to feel like a lost year where you're just gonna ultimately fire him anyways. But I mean, I will say he has shown improvement, but is that really enough to bring him back? If you really want the Bears to win a championship, is he the guy that's going to get it done?
And that brings up a whole other, subject that I'm sure we'll get into later. But Berlismo asked, is there any case to convince yourself that Getsy should return? And for me, no. But then that throws a whole new dynamic into the conversation, because it's not like, oh, they're going to keep Eberflus, so Justin's going to have the same system and feel comfortable. No, if they get rid of Getsy, then he's going to have to learn another system in another year, and the year where you're deciding, you're going to have to decide whether you're picking up his fifth-year option this offseason, and you're going to throw him into a new offensive system and say, make it work, and then because we did pick up your option, so you got to make it work if we're going to extend you. So, that throws in a whole other part of this conversation of, if Getsy's gone, what does that mean for your quarterback too? If you're bringing in a new offensive coordinator, do you want a new quarterback to run with it? And will that offensive coordinator want a specific quarterback to run his offense? So there's still, I know there's only a week left in the season, but there's still a lot to sort out here.
Absolutely, man. Wouldn't it be so much easier if they just hired an offensive-minded head coach?
Look,
oh my goodness,
I'm not going to be a complete hypocrite because I said I wouldn't mind if they hired a defensive coach. I just wanted an adult in the room after Matt Nagy was here. But in retrospect, yeah, I agree with you. If they had an offensive head coach, this wouldn't be as much of an issue, or at least a talking point. But I'm not going to pretend. Like I've said on this show 1,000 times. My best attribute is being wrong about everything. So that's just another thing that I'm wrong about. So that's what I bring to the table. Whatever I say, the opposite's probably going to happen. So we'll see how things they unfold here.
We shall, and it's going to definitely be an eventful off season. So let's take one more stroll down memory lane. Prior to the season, we all predicted that the Bears would be in the 8 to 9 win range at the end of the year. And for the first few months of the season, that looked comical, and we looked like we were going to be on freezing cold takes. But now the Bears are one way away from finishing the season at 8 and 9. So, John, if that happens, will you still feel as disappointed as you did a few months ago? 55 seconds are on the clock.
What a weird season. Like you said, we were kicking ourselves in October for predicting a season of 8 or 9 wins, and now here we are with that being a real possibility. But to answer the question, yeah, I'll still be disappointed, because if they wouldn't have absolutely fell out of the gate at the beginning of the season, we would be talking about something very different. I know it's not healthy to look back in the past and think, what if? But it's pretty hard not to as a football fan. And I think context is very important in every situation. You have to look at the details of the season and not just the final number. It's frustrating because we build this as the next big step-up year. And I don't think it can be a step-up year if you start the season 0-4 and eventually 1-5. Yet, we can say they finished strong, but that kind of just sets the tone for next year to be the big step-up season. So we have to go through another offseason of hope, and then maybe 2024 is when this happens.
It's the Bears way. I mean, the off season and the week leading up to the first game, that's like our Super Bowl. That's when we're feeling at our highest, just all the belief. But yeah, like you said, I mean, it has felt like two different seasons. You point to the earlier part of the season. I'm kind of even looking just this back half where, since Montez Sweat joined, and it's those 3 games that they should have won. And then we're talking about a completely different season. And obviously we're talking about double-digit wins here. And they're contending for for the playoffs. Actually, they're in the playoffs, contending for a division title. And I don't know, there's so much, I don't know, the what if, man. The what if game as a Bears fan is just so frustrating.
That's what
but
we do.
I know it's rough. I'm still disappointed, but I know we burned the tape already, so at least I don't know, we can't get that back. Yeah. But I mean, I still feel kind of good that at least it's going to be like the 8 and 9 win range. Because there was a moment where I was like, they're not going to win another game this year.
Oh yeah.
And then things started to turn around, and finishing on a strong note. I think there's something to be said about that. I don't know whether that's enough to save Matt Eberflus's job, or it should be, but we'll see. But I'm still disappointed. Maybe not as disappointed when I didn't think they couldn't win a game for the rest of the year, but it still feels like a lost season.
Well, there have been some there were some weeks where the Bears were slotted to be the number 1 overall pick and the number 2 overall pick.
Yes.
Like that was a real thing. They're like, oh, they're taking Caleb Williams and Marvin Harrison Jr. number 1 and number 2. That was a thing for a while because the Bears looked awful. Like they looked like they were going to have their own top 5 pick or even top 2 pick because of how bad they were. So it's really weird. And it's so to get back to what we were talking about, it's how they got there that I'm disappointed in, because it's just, we wanted an 8 or 9 win team, and we thought maybe there would be some consistency throughout that season where they win some games, they fall short in some games, they win a game they're not supposed to, they fall short, it's kind of up and down. This was like, okay, let's start the season by digging the biggest hole we can think of and then gradually move up as the season progresses. And then we're right there at the tip of that, the hole that we dug for ourselves, but we're not going to get out of it just because they dug themselves such a big hole to begin with in the beginning of the season.
It's the hope that kills you every time. As a Bears fan. Every time. So we're going to finish with this. So John, it is week 18. The Bears are not going to the playoffs, but they have one game left against the Packers. No need for a clock on this one. But John, I want you to tell us why Bears fans should get hyped up for this game. Have at it.
Look, if you're a Bears fan, you shouldn't need me to tell you why you should get hyped for this game. First of all, it's the Packers. The Bears need every opportunity to crawl back into this rivalry, which currently stands at 106-95. The Bears are on a 9-game losing streak to Green Bay, and Chicago hasn't beaten the Packers yet this decade. Second of all, this is a chance to not just beat Green Bay, but potentially ruin their season. If Green Bay loses, it doesn't slam the door on their playoff chances, but it makes it pretty difficult. Misery loves company, and Bears fans have been miserable for quite some time. And finally, this is the last Bears game of the season. This is the last time we get to see our favorite team play for about 8 months, and that sucks. The anticipation of August, the disappointment of September, to the signs of life in December, it all gets wrapped up this Sunday. And another reason I was so disappointed throughout this year was that it felt like, as fans, we lost another season of potentially competitive football. We only get so many seasons to watch. After all, we're all human here. There are 60-year-old Browns fans that have never seen a Browns championship. There are 67-year-old Lions fans that have never been alive for a championship. There are 76-year-old Cardinals fans that have never been alive for a championship. I have never been alive for a Bears championship. And I don't want to be listening to a Bears show in the year 2055, listening to a conversation about a 70-year Super Bowl drought. But I guess I'm getting a little ahead of myself, but let's just hope they beat Green Bay on Sunday and we'll take it from there. That'll do it for B55. After this message, we'll talk more Bears with the Barroom's lead analyst, Danny Shimon, and preview this season finale against those Packers.
Have you ever wondered what it's like to be a quarterback in the NFL? I have. The quarterback position is arguably the most difficult position in all of sports due to its physical and mental nature. Join me by watching me on this channel on my journey to become an NFL quarterback.
The best Chicago Bears content anywhere. Catch Nomad live pregame 1 hour prior to kickoff, and Nomad at night postgame, and every Friday evening at 7 p.m. Central on all the most popular streaming platforms, and only on the Nomad Network.
Welcome back to Buffone 55. This is the segment we call Buffone's Basement. That's where we get down and dirty with some Bears talk with the Barroom's lead analyst, Danny Shimon. Danny, how you doing? Long time no see.
Yeah, man. Happy New Year, everyone. John, glad to have you back, man. We truly missed you. Even though Alyssa, took the wheel and she drove it down, down the lane nice and smooth, but good to have you back, man.
I'm telling you, we were one episode away from this becoming Barbieri 55, and so and it was, and to be honest, it'd probably get better ratings. But I had to get back here. So we could talk about this season finale with the Packers and talk about all the things that are going on with the Bears, because there is plenty of stuff to talk about. So Danny, we just brought you in. But both you and Alyssa know that the Justin or Caleb debate has been red hot on social media with all of the experts on Twitter or X, whatever you call it. But Danny, you've made it clear that you want the Bears to continue the rebuild with Justin Fields. So go ahead and make your case to fans who don't want Justin Fields back. Tell them why investing in Fields is a better option than drafting Caleb Williams or Drake May or any other quarterback in this draft.
Well, first of all, John and Alyssa, I feel like I've been trying to make this case for about the last year and a half, and for Justin Fields. And the first thing I heard your earlier segment with Buffone 55, and just think I want to say, Caleb Williams is not a generational talent. I'll just let you know, people out there are saying he's generational talent. He's not a generational talent. We'll get into him, I'm sure, later on here, if not this show, down the road. But with Justin Fields, all I can talk about is facts, and I've got some film here we can break into a little bit later on. But the facts are he's a third-year quarterback going into his fourth year next year. He's 6'3", 230 pounds. Having a guy that currently has played behind a decimated offensive line this first couple years. This year right now he's having a 61% completion percentage. 2,414 passing yards, 16 passing touchdowns, 9 interceptions. That's this year, and he's already missed 4 games. You add to that the 630 rush yards and the additional 4 touchdowns. So he's accounted for over 3,000 yards of offense, 20 touchdowns. And this is a kid that, for me, at 24 years old, his ceiling is he still doesn't reach his ceiling. He still can get better. And there's some stuff that I want to talk about here with this kid. We'll show the highlights here real quick in terms of some film study. But let's go right here real quick. This is the game against Atlanta this past week, and the first play here is really highlighting Justin's ability in the pocket to be able to manipulate the safety. And a lot of things with these quarterbacks in the pocket is be able to hold that safety. You see here in this all 22 view, holds that safety in the middle of the field by staring down the safety, knowing that DJ Moore has the one-on-one outside route, outside coverage, and his ability to go ahead and hold that safety. If you take a look at his head, holding in the middle of the field, and then throwing that ball with what I call a bucket throw, dropping it into DJ Moore there, and leading him out of bounds for that big completion. That is him making a play from the pocket. These are things that you see what quote unquote pocket quarterbacks doing, right? If we go to the next play here, this one here, I want to focus on Justin's ability to go ahead and go through his progression. A lot of times you hear about, Justin can't go through a progression. Well, here, look at his head. He starts off here looking to his left, comes back to the middle, and just when it looks like he's going to go and tuck it and run, he finds Johnson there, dumps it off, who runs it inside the 5-yard line, setting up a 1st and goal. Again, I want to highlight his patience here, going through a progression, going to the left there, going to his 1st, 2nd, 3rd reads, finally finding that dump off pass to Johnson there. And the other thing I want to highlight here is the pass protection. The offensive line, since week 12, he came back from his injury. The offensive line has played better. Justin's played better. I think this is just the line and the quarterback just getting better and getting more confidence. The better the offensive line protects for him, gives him more confidence, go ahead and stay there, go through his full field progression here, as we see here, and then go ahead and go with the check down, which is something that Justin never did last year. A lot of times it was 1 read, maybe 2, then tuck it and run. This is again, Justin developing here as a pocket quarterback. Just a couple of plays here. The third play here is the touchdown to DJ Moore. 3rd and goal. Talk about Justin cannot make anticipatory throws. Well, here, you take a look at it as we get the all 22 view here pretty soon. He notices that DJ is lined up in the slot, is going to, at the snap, has the safety who's got inside leverage on him. Right away, he knows DJ's got this guy beaten. So all he has to do is now throw it to a spot, anticipate where DJ is going to be, and the ball placement is excellent, where it's only where DJ can make the play on the football, the defender can't. So again, making throws from the pocket anticipatory throws. This is what I call throwing a receiver open, throwing them away from coverage. These are NFL type throws. And this is stuff that we've been seeing a little bit more and more consistently from Justin this year. Obviously, last year we had this decimated roster, nothing outside. You add DJ Moore this year. You got a Cole Kmet, a developing young tight end. Now add pieces around him. The offensive line, as I mentioned here, has gotten better. And you fortify the middle of the offensive line with a couple more pieces here. Add another playmaker on the outside in the draft. You have multiple talented first-round receivers available in this draft here. Add another tight end that can complement Cole Kmet. You get these pieces around him. He's going to be a guy going into his fourth year. I know the talk is about the contract and all that stuff. It is something where if you bring in a rookie quarterback, you're going to be starting all over in terms of getting that guy familiar with the NFL. And again, Caleb Williams, I'm not going to sit here and dog him and all that stuff. He's got some really good talent in terms of ball ability, throwing the ball down the field. Strong arm can make all the throws. But in terms of just, you've already put time into Justin Fields. I think Fields, for me, has a higher ceiling overall. Now, Caleb might be a better, again, thrower of the football. I think Justin hasn't reached his peak yet. Like I said, 24 years old, the ceiling's still there. I think some more coaching, some better coaching. There are things that, actually 3 or 4 things I want Justin to actually take into next year and get better at. First of all, the one thing I was hoping he'd do this year, but I haven't seen on a consistent basis, is speed up his play clock in his head. Meaning pre-snap, read the defense, see what they're doing. Post-snap, quickly analyze what the adjustment is, and then find your read and get rid of the football. So lately here we're seeing less sacks, him throwing the football away, or finding the second or third option, as we saw there with Roshan Johnson. The other thing I want to work on is I want to work on his ability in terms of getting the those second and that throw that feather over that second and third level defenders, being able to kind of feather it over that linebacker in front of the safety. Those kind of throws you see a lot of times, Justin, their line drive throws kind of airmails them or they're a little bit off target. Work on that. The other thing is, speed up his release. There's times where we see him get the ball out of his hands real quickly, and there's times you see it's a little bit longer. Just work on it. These are all things, again, with repetition, with better coaching, in my opinion, with just footwork and all that stuff. Continue to work and continue to build on it. And I think Justin Fields has the potential. We see the ability to go ahead and make plays with his legs, and then just again complete that package here. Rolling out to his left, to his right, throwing on a run. He's got good accuracy, ability to make plays. Now just continue to make some plays from the pocket, roll there. I think that's going to be something that continue to make this kid go better and better. The other thing, the most important thing here, and the reason why I want to stick with Justin Fields, is the team loves him. The team follows him. The team believes in him. That 3rd and 8 play, when he got away from 2 defenders and he got for 19 yards, scrambled for 19 yards, got a first down. Who were the first guys that jumped off the bench who came in to congratulate him? Defenders. Eddie Jackson, Jaquan Brisker, the defensive lineman. They were all there. The team, the defense has his back. They believe in him. They want him as their leader. And again, trade that first-round pick, and you can get more for this first-round pick than you could for last year's first-round pick. You build now all those assets. You build around with the cap room. You build around this kid. Add a couple more players on defense. Now you got a team that quickly could probably potentially contend for a playoff spot next year.
And I love seeing those highlights with the snow flurries around. Enjoy it while you can, because I don't know how much longer the Bears will be playing outside. But that was just awesome to see. Great breakdown of all those plays, Danny. Appreciate that. Alyssa, I want to bring you in here because you kind of indicated what you wanted during the B55 segment, but are you in the Fields camp or are you in the reset the quarterback position with the draft pick camp? Because there are pros. Let's not pretend like there's absolutely no pro to one side and all con to the other. I mean, I understand what the thought process is from both sides. Where do you stand on that?
Yeah, I definitely understand both sides. Obviously, there are salary cap benefits to resetting the quarterback position with a rookie. The Bears are slated to have an estimated $82.4 million in cap space in 2024, according to ESPN, which obviously you can use that to shore up the rest of the roster. While Justin Fields will only cost $6 million in 2024, if you exercise his 5th-year option by May 2024, that would be an estimated $23.3 million in 2025. If you draft a rookie quarterback, obviously you're resetting the salary cap, and that will allow you to spend on premium positions as you continue to build a contending team. But with that said, the salary cap benefit doesn't mean anything unless you get it right at the quarterback position. While Fields has had his shortcomings, as Danny was alluding to, he's shown vast improvement this year and will continue to grow as you build around him. There's no guarantee that Caleb Williams or even Drake May or whoever the Bears would draft if they opted to do that will pan out. We all know the Bears' track record with drafting and developing quarterbacks. So is that a risk that you're willing to take? But if Ryan Poles has conviction on one of those quarterbacks, it's a move that he should and will make. Putting myself on the record, I like the Bears to stick with Fields and continue to build around him. There are added benefits outside of just the salary cap, like Danny was talking about, draft capital. We saw what Chicago got for that first pick last year. DJ Moore, Darnell Wright, Tyreek Stevenson, the number 1 pick this year. And we still have a 2025 second rounder coming. And ESPN, they shared a story this week where Jeremy Fowler, where he believes that the haul for this number 1 pick is going to be even bigger, where he thinks that you can get 3 first-round picks and a veteran player or a second-round pick, and you could get that from a team that's already picking inside the top 5. And we saw what happens when you trade with a bad team. It turned into the number 1 pick this year. So obviously there's a benefit of having, resetting the salary cap, but there's also a benefit of having that additional draft capital to build your roster. And that's what we've seen from Ryan Poles so far. He sees someone that wants to build through the draft.
Absolutely. And I want to bring up a comment that Bellissimo just put out about we could have 2 first-round picks for the next 3 years, including this one, and that helps offset if the best-case scenario Fields balls out and you have to pay him $40 million. That's the other end of it, where you have all of these first-rounders that you're not paying, not just the quarterback. People forget that, if you draft a quarterback, you don't have to pay him. Well, that's the same that if you draft an edge rusher or a wide receiver or anyone else, you don't have to pay him for the first 4 years. And that's the same for any position. So that is, if you have to pay your quarterback, $35, $40, $50 million a year, but you're also paying these 4 first-round draft picks nothing, that does kind of even out the salary cap a little bit, which is a good financial way of looking at that. I want to stick with the offense. Danny, you've preached over and over again that the Bears are a run team. Khalil Herbert had his second straight. We have pretty graphics up there. I love that. Khalil, and you can see his last 2 games up there on the graphic against the Cardinals, 112 yards rushing, 126 against the Falcons. Seems like the team runs the ball well against anyone, but maybe they run it best when Khalil Herbert is the number 1 back. Danny, you've been a big backer of Dante Foreman, but he hasn't had 100-yard rushing yet this year, although we've seen him be productive when running the football. Do you think that this is Khalil Herbert should be the number 1 moving forward? Are they better with him as the number 1 running back?
Oh yeah. I mean, I'm a big Khalil Herbert fan. When they picked him, in the 6th round a couple years ago, I said this guy's going to be a potential starter for the Bears. And then I think going into season, I think he was a clear-cut number 1 for me. And in terms of this scheme, obviously, if you keep Luke Getsy or bring in a coordinator with a similar type of scheme, which is that wide zone, inside zone kind of scheme, I mean, he's got the vision, the ability, the patience to go ahead and and plant his foot, see that cutback lane, plant and hit it upfield. And also, we've seen that the contact balance, the power to be able to bounce off of defenders and then get that burst and get to that second and third level of the defense. And he's a guy that gets big yardage. And so the other thing is he's improved in terms of his pass catching ability out of the backfield. He's got shown to have more reliable hands this year. Obviously, the one area that he's been knocked down throughout his career is his pass blocking. It's gotten a little bit better. Obviously, the big spotlight was a couple weeks ago against Cleveland, where he got run over by a linebacker. But that happens from time to time. But in terms of, for me, Khalil Herbert, I think the Bears have a talented backfield. I think with Herbert, with Rashawn Johnson coming on here, and even Deontay Foreman, he's more of that in between, pounder, a guy that goes in between the tackles and just gets those hard yards. I think for whatever reason he's kind of fallen out of favor the last couple weeks. So even if you don't re-sign Deontay Foreman, bring in a guy from in the 3rd day of the draft, another guy that can be in between the tackle to complement those 2 guys, and again continue to add to the offensive line. We see the offensive line being more cohesive and gelling here with Tevin Jenkins on left guard and Braxton Jones on left tackle, and obviously Wright and Davis on the right side. I think center still is a priority for me in terms of upgrading there. Even though I got I've been hammering him for all these weeks, but Lucas Patrick has done a solid job at center. Let's just say that the big holding penalty last week didn't help his case, but he's better at center than a guard, that's for sure. But again, you can always improve there. That's the one thing I want to shore up that middle of that interior offensive line and continue. And that's the thing I've been preaching. You guys know every week. I said, start with the run game. You work off the play action, build your passing game off the play action. And you know, I always say, you know, lap, you know, it's just under center and go with the I formation. And last week, a handful of times they did it. It was successful, but then he just likes going back to the shotgun formation and running out of that. I'm not sure what that is about, but you know, anyway, but yeah, I mean, the Bears are a running team. It's just getting Luke Getsy to kind of, you know, embrace that and admit it.
Well, we'll see if he still has time to admit it moving forward. What they're going to do with with the coaching staff and the offseason, and what that staff's going to look like heading into the 2024 season. Alyssa, I'd love for you to comment on the defensive effort by the Bears against the Falcons, because you wrote about it on BearsWire.com, and you pointed out the efforts of the young players on this defense. So what stuck out to you?
Yeah, like you said, I mean, I continue to be impressed by the young players on this defense and the direction that this unit is headed towards in the future. And they had another dominant outing. I did my studs and duds list. I had a lot of rookies and young players on the studs list, including rookie cornerback Tyreek Stevenson, who just had a monster game, couple of interceptions, 4 pass breakups, 5 tackles, and he earned NFC Defensive Player of the Week honors in the process. So congrats to Tyreek. And, you know, it's not just this game. You know, he's been ascending, I think, in these final stretch of games since week 15, where Pro Football Focus had this stat where he's been targeted 22 times, and he's come away with 3 interceptions, 4 forced incompletions, and a 47.7 passer rating allowed. So when you're seeing, we saw Jalen Johnson got his first Pro Bowl nod tonight. So maybe Tyreek Stevenson is a player that can develop into a Pro Bowler as well. And for all the talk about the Bears missing out by not drafting Jalen Carter, Javon Dexter has been a revelation as a pass rusher, I think, as the season has progressed, and he had a couple of sacks against the Falcons. Obviously, he still needs to improve, and Matt Eberflus talked about this today. He needs to show some improvement against the run, but his ability to generate that interior pressure has just been huge for this defense. And there's a reason that we're seeing more and more of him as the season is progressing. And you also had 5th-round rookie Terrell Smith stepping up in place of an injured Jalen Johnson in the second half of the game. And sounds like Jalen's going to be good to go. I believe he said that on 670 The Score today, that he will be playing in this Packers game. But it was nice to see Smith kind of get some more reps and really hold his own out there. And then you see guys like second-year defensive backs Kyler Gordon and Jaquan Brisker. They continue to shine. I think that there's no doubt that this defense, which has been a top 5 unit since week 9, is definitely on the rise. And just really excited to see, you know, what they're going to look like even next year as they continue to build this unit.
I want to stick with the defense because, Danny, one of the things we got to talk about is the 4 interceptions in Sunday's game against the Falcons, and all of them happened after Jalen Johnson left the game. So I'm not framing this question as it's my opinion, but does that have any impact on whether or not they need to re-sign Jalen Johnson? I mean, we talk about the salary cap reset by drafting a QB, and you could save probably $15 million in 2024 if you draft a cornerback and in day 1 or 2. Is Jalen Johnson, who has been playing very, very well and has probably played his best football in his prove-it year, is he a guy that you would be okay letting go, or do you want to see them bring him back?
No, I'm a Jalen Johnson fan, but I don't think they're going to sign him to the money that he wants. And then you mentioned there, you know, John, in terms of what he could be looking at. Now I think it's might be even higher now. He's a Pro Bowl, or might be even higher in the 20 million per year range. So I think they're going to franchise. I'm under belief they're going to franchise him. You know, Jalen Johnson came out and said he'd be willing to play on the franchise tag, which I think his agent might not be too happy to hear him say that publicly. But you know, if that's true, you know, franchise him, bring him back for another year, and you have those young guys developing. Listen, they love Tyreek Stevenson. We know that. I love Terrell Smith in the 5th round of the draft. You know, when they drafted him, I saw that guy up front and close in Vegas last year in the East West Shrine game. That kid was turning heads there. I love the fact they got him in the 5th round. I think it was a steal. I called it on draft day, and so far the kid's turning out to be a pretty good player. So they have their 2 young corners. Let's talk about, you know, Kyler Gordon coming in as a nickel. I see him potentially as a outside corner, to be honest, but he's been playing well right now as a nickel. So they got those 3 young guys. They could probably go draft another guy, depending on how much picks they get. If they trade that first overall pick, they get another guy in the 2nd or 3rd round to bring in there. And then eventually, if they, you know, franchise Jalen this year, they could probably trade him or release, or, you know, let him go after this upcoming season. But I'm under the belief that Jalen's going to be franchised, and they may trade him for a pick to recoup some of the capital they lost for Montez Sweat, or they might just let him play on that franchise side. But I highly doubt that they're going to sign him to a long-term extension.
You mentioned he made the Pro Bowl, and the Bears have 2 Pro Bowlers this year. Alyssa, can you go over, in addition to Johnson, who else made the Pro Bowl for the Bears and their impact on this team?
Yeah, obviously the Bears had 2 Pro Bowlers, like you mentioned, John, including cornerback Jalen Johnson and what should come as no surprise defensive end Montez Sweat. This is both of their first Pro Bowl selections, so congrats to both of those guys. Obviously, Sweat, who the Bears landed in a trade from the Commanders, has just helped transform this Bears defense from one of the worst into one of the best in the NFL. You know, Sweat has a career-high 12.5 sacks through week 17, and that ranks 3rd in the NFC. He leads both the Bears and Commanders in sacks, and if things end that way, he would be the first player to accomplish that in NFL history. And then you have Johnson, of course, the former second rounder, and he has had a career year with the Bears this season. He's established himself as one of the best of the NFL's best cover cornerbacks, and he also has a career high 4 interceptions, which is tied for the team best. And there are quite a few players that have 4 interceptions for Chicago this year. He also has recorded 36 tackles and 10 pass breakups. I think when you look at this Bears defense and the players that have been, integral parts to just how dominant they've been in the last few weeks, it's definitely Sweat and Johnson, and now they're Pro Bowl bound.
That's right. I'm excited. I'm excited for this. Montez Sweat was a huge get. You got a trade had to work out sooner or later, right? so we got it, and this one looks like it's working out. Danny, who do you think a snub may have been?
Well, PZ's guy right there. I think DJ Moore. I think could have had a good case there for the Pro Bowl. Obviously, the 4 receivers ahead of him. I think statistically they've had better impact seasons. Obviously, Mike Evans. I think that's more of a nostalgic kind of vote there. So I think between him and DJ could have been gone there as well. So I think he was a big snub on offense. And for me, it's TJ Edwards, man. I think they the Bears' improvement on defense started all. Not coincidentally with the addition of Montez Sweat. So now you got a Pro Bowl on that first layer of the defense. I think you have a Pro Bowl on a second layer with TJ Edwards, and now you have a Pro Bowl on a third level with Jalen Johnson. So you got a Pro Bowl on each level of defense, and now you have the young guys around them. I think that's that cohesiveness, and those 3 guys are making this defense churn now at a time where, and you see the turnovers, and you see that they're getting off on third downs and all that stuff. So I think TJ Edwards for me on defense, and obviously DJ Moore on offense would be the 2 big snubs for the Bears.
Yep, I would agree with that wholeheartedly. And I mean, we're talking about the Pro Bowl, and we're talking about the offseason, we're talking about the Bears we're going to do. But Alyssa, I guess we still have a game that we got to preview, right?
Oh, that's right. We do. Since we are talking about the Pro Bowl, I know you're wondering which Packers players made the Pro Bowl. I am thrilled to tell you that Green Bay was one of 4 teams who did not have a player voted to the Pro Bowl. So congratulations.
Aww.
The others are the Panthers, the Patriots, and the Commanders, who are all picking inside the top 3 right now, except for Carolina, of course. By the way, thanks for that number 1 pick. Now let's get an overview on the Packers from our own Aldo Gandia.
Of week 1 here at Soldier Field, where the Packers come in and dominate the Bears yet again. 38-20, and Jordan Love couldn't start it any better. Green Bay's won 9 in a row against their rivals, second longest win streak in series history, and Love 1-0 against Chicago.
The Week 1 thrashing of the Bears by the Packers at Soldier Field had Green Bay believing that their quarterback, Jordan Love, was going to continue to own Chicago.
Jordan, you come to Chicago, you throw for 3 touchdowns. At the half, your head coach is saying you are beyond poised. How would you assess your performance today?
I'm always very critical myself, so it was a great game. We got the win. That's exactly what we wanted. Great team showing. Came out and did what we needed to do, and showed the world what we're about. So.
But Love's first season as starter for the Packers hasn't always been all love.
Love, end zone, intercepted. Good night.
After Game 1, the Packers would go on to lose 6 of their next 8 games, including 4 in a row. Jordan Love's future was in question.
We're going through some things that we knew we would go through. We haven't had the results we want.
But now the team playing for a playoff spot Sunday is 8-8 after winning 7 of 10 games, and Love is a big reason why.
16 TDs, 1 interception, last 8 games, 68% completion, 260 yards passing the game.
Here's a fake. Love sets up, now goes backdoor to Jones. He's got some blockers here.
Packers running back Aaron Jones had over 120 yards of total offense against the Bears, but suffered an injury that marred his 2023 season. But he's back, he's healthy, and he's gaining lots of rushing yards. 127 against Carolina in Week 16 and 120 versus the Vikings last week.
Jones is a really good dynamic runner that can do a lot of different things. His cutting ability, his vision, his explosiveness is elite. And having Dillon there as the 1-2 punch, very hard to bring down.
They rode him right into the end zone. Touchdown Green Bay. Here's Reed.
At the receiver corps, it's a young group led by Jaden Reed and Romeo Doubs.
Love.
Each has 8 touchdown catches.
Caught for the touchdown. Romeo Doubs, number 2.
How about the offensive line?
The offensive line is considered among the best in the NFC, even with the season-long absence of left tackle David Bakhtiari. Last week against the blitz-heavy Vikings, they did not allow any sacks, but did surrender 13 quarterback hurries on 34 dropbacks. Tight end Luke Musgrave hasn't played since Week 11, but fellow rookie Tucker Kraft has filled in admirably, and he's been a great option for Love when first downs are needed.
Wide open on the other side of the field is the rookie Tucker Kraft.
The defensive line is one of the strengths of their team.
Back at the 21-yard line, Rashawn Gary. What a day.
On defense, edge rushers Rashawn Gary and Preston Smith lead the team in sacks with 9 and 8 respectively.
Being pressured, Preston Smith got knocked it out. Ball is free, and the Packers have it.
Moving inside to the linebackers, Quay. I think Quay's a really good linebacker. He's got really good instincts, very athletic, very active in there.
Field stands in, delivers, intercepted. Quay Walker's got it. Looking for blocks. Walker still on his feet. Walker's still going, looking for the end zone. Quay Walker is in. Touchdown.
Campbell, the veteran, inside there, paired along with him, has done a good job of commanding that defense for a long, long time.
The interior of the line is armed and loaded with Kenny Clark leading the way. Despite the team's TNT up front, the team's INTs have been few. The Packers have only 17 interceptions. Star cornerback Jaire Alexander is still looking for his first pick of the season. Special teams play for Green Bay has been adequate.
Nixon into Detroit territory, still on his feet.
But their place kicker, Anders Carlson, has missed 5 field goals and 5 extra points this season.
And the field goal is no good. 45-yard try by Anders Carlson.
At today's press conference, Bears head coach Matt Eberflus said that Green Bay and Chicago have been playing similar ball in the second half of the season. The only problem, of course, is that the Packers are playing for a playoff spot and the Bears are playing for bragging rights. For Buffone 55, I'm Aldo Gandia.
Oh, it's a good video when it ticks you off. Oh, man.
Even Aldo looked upset at that video.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, I think I felt it, and if we were talking about getting psyched up for this game, we were talking about getting hyped up for this game. I know that the Bears can't win anything, but they can win something. They can win. Oh, yeah. They can go out by beating the Packers, potentially keeping them out of the playoffs. I don't care about the draft positioning right now. I just beat Green Bay. Beat Green Bay. I'm stumbling over my words because
if you're Matt Eberflus and you're this defense that claims to be on the up and coming here, and you're a team that's rallying around your coach to try and save his job, this Eberflus go out there, win this game, and knock out your rival out of the playoffs. And I think that, again, they always Justin did it early in the year, and I think the coaching staff has done it a couple of times in terms of referencing to last year's Detroit Lions team. What did Detroit do last year? Last game of the season, Green Bay had everything to play for, winning and go in. Detroit had nothing to play for, and they came in there and they kicked their ass and they kicked them out of the playoffs, and they took that momentum into this offseason. And look at Detroit now. They won the North this year. So, if you are the Bears, I think I expect a spirited Bears team to come out Sunday and try and knock the Packers out. Now, well, they can do it or not. We'll see. But everyone's excited with the improvement in terms of the win totals. And yes, 7 wins obviously is better than 3. But if you go over those 7 wins, guys, they've only been one team with a winning record, and that's Detroit with Jared Goff. I mean, some of the other ones, they beat the Commanders with Sam Howell. Commanders are 4-12. They beat the Raiders when McDaniels was still the coach with Brian Hoyer at quarterback. Obviously, Carolina with Bryce Young. Minnesota with Josh Dobbs. Arizona a couple weeks ago with Kyler Murray, and then last week with Atlanta with a good defense, 6th overall, but Taylor Heineke at quarterback. So they haven't really beat anybody good. Now, again, you play who's on your schedule. So I'm not blaming the Bears, in terms of cherry picking their opponents, but it's just like you want to go out there and you want to have a statement win. And I think the Detroit game was a statement win, and I think going out there and beating Green Bay in Green Bay, eliminating them from the playoffs, is a statement win. A little feather in the cap of Matt Eberflus and the staff to go up to management and say, hey, you know what? I deserve to come back. And that's why I think the Bears will see a spirited effort on Sunday in Green Bay.
And if they were to win this game, I believe, and you guys can confirm this, they would be 3-3 in the division, right? They would have split with every opponent. They would have split with the Lions, split with the Vikings, and split with the Packers. And so I think that's another thing that you can put in your cap for a team that was struggling to win any division games, could potentially split with all of their division rivals in 2023-24. So we'll see
if that happens, John and Alyssa. If that happens, again, you're running a momentum into the offseason. Now, do you want to reset that with a rookie quarterback next year? Or do you want to continue building on that and continue bringing assets onto this team and building this team around Justin Fields? Another case in point why Justin Fields, keeping him is probably the better player.
Well, and this game could potentially be an exclamation point one way or the other for if they're still on the fence for some things, or they're still evaluating. The last game again, say what you will, but I for me and for fans and maybe the front office and the coaching staff, there is a bigger emphasis on Green Bay games just because it's Green Bay. And, when Lovie Smith came in and said, I'm here to beat Green Bay, that was received better than most lines that were ever said in Chicago. So there is a bigger emphasis on Green Bay games. And we're talking about with the Bears. But let's talk about the quarterback for the Green Bay Packers, because they feel like they found their 3rd Hall of Fame quarterback in succession with Brett Favre, Aaron Rodgers, and now Jordan Love. Danny, what have you seen from Jordan Love? Do Bears fans have to fear that he is going to add to this Green Bay legacy of great quarterbacks?
Well, before we go to Hall of Fame and great, let's pump the brakes. You know me, guys. I don't like calling people franchise quarterbacks or elite until they prove it, right? So Jordan Love got off to a solid start this season and then hit that little bump in the road and kind of had a rough week. And again, a young quarterback in his first full season as a starter. There's some growing pains, right? And that's what you expect. Even with Jordan Love has been sitting 2-3 years behind, Aaron Rodgers and learning from him. He still had no experience, went out there and he's really, had that slump in the middle of the year. Took his lumps there, and now he's come back. And the thing impressed about him is he's thrown for over 3,800 yards, 30 passing touchdowns, and 26 of those touchdowns have gone to either first or second year players. So he's got a young, a skill set, a group around him with receivers and tight ends. Obviously, and the package there. Aldo talked about the veterans in the backfield with Jones and the big bruising running back. So in the offensive line, I mean that's what's really kind of catapults this team in terms of getting him on the roof. But yeah, he's rebounded after week 9. I think Love started really at that Detroit game, I believe, on Thanksgiving Day. He really started kind of building his momentum there. And, he's been on a roll. And I think it was 16 touchdowns, 1 interception in his last 6 or 7 games, something like that. So he's on a roll. So, yeah, again, Bears, Matt Eberflus, defense. You're saying this is your calling card. This defense is on the come. Here we go. You got a hot young quarterback at home with a chance of them to go to playoffs. Shut them out. Shut them down. You guys have been playing well. But, again, we talked about it, John, a couple weeks ago. 3, double-digit, leads in the fourth quarter. This defense has blown, right? Denver, Detroit, that first game, and then Cleveland. You win those 2 of those 3 games, you're in the playoffs now, probably, right? So again, if you want to go out there and put your money where your mouth is and say, you know, we're a good up and coming young defense, go on and prove it. That's why I think that the Bears are going to give this Packers team, you know, a good effort here on Sunday.
For sure. And it's for a number of reasons. We're going to have we're obviously going to be watching the game, but there are so many different storylines that are going along with this game, whether it's the coaching, whether it's the quarterbacking, whether it's the Green Bay's playoff chances, whether it's just the fact that it's the Bears-Packers rivalry, that the Bears, like I said before, are on a 9-game losing streak to Green Bay. They haven't beat them yet in the 2020s, a decade. Like it's frustrating. And so, Alyssa, over at PackersWire.com, Paul Brettel, and I don't know if I said his name right because me being the consummate professional didn't take the time to learn anybody's name. But Paul wrote about the importance of the turnover battle Greg Jennings. Yeah, just throw the Jennings in the bag. We'll be fine. And the importance of the turnover battle for this week's game. Can you kind of share the gist about what he wrote there?
Yeah, you know, he talked a lot about winning the turnover battle. And obviously it's important, especially in these kind of games. And if the Bears hope to get their first win over the Packers since 2018, and I don't know, the way you said it, like in this they hadn't in this decade, it just like hit different. If they're going to get their first win of this decade in this rivalry, they're going to need to win the turnover battle on Sunday. You know, Paul was talking about some stats, including this season when the Packers win the turnover battle, they are 5-1. But when they lose it, they are just 1-6. And when they tie, they are 2-2. So, you know, when you kind of look at the Bears and what they've done on offense, they've committed 25 turnovers this season, which is the 10th most in the NFL through 17 games. But the defense has been among the best at taking the ball away, obviously spurred on by the addition of Montez Sweat. They had 27 takeaways, the third most in the NFL through 17 games. So Justin Fields and Chicago's offense needs to protect the football, and the Bears defense, like Danny said, they really need to step up in this moment, bring the pressure, force some turnovers to help flip the script on what's been a one-sided rivalry.
I want to finish with this, guys, because I want you to take. I'm all emotional. I hung up my journalist hat years ago, so now I can just be a big meatball who spews out just random things. So I want you guys to take off your analyst hats. I want you to take off your journalist hat. Forget about what it means, you know, technically and by the numbers and who's going to do the what. What does this game mean to you? What does this game against Green Bay, what does the Green Bay matchup in general, the Green Bay rivalry mean to you? Because there's a reason why you do what you do, because you had a passion for the Chicago Bears and most likely a disdain for the Green Bay Packers. So, Danny, I'll start with you and then we'll end with Alyssa. What does this game against Green Bay mean to you?
Well, for me, in terms of, you know, like the disdain for the Packers, I mean, I hate everyone in NFC North. I hate the Lions, I hate the Vikings, I hate the Packers just as badly. So, and because all three basically have been really, you know, dominating our Bears here for the last, you know, couple of years. So, but for me, in terms of this is, we talked about earlier, this is a game where Eberflus as a head coach can go out and cement his case for coming back. You know, Justin Fields can go out there and lead the Bears to a victory, cementing his spot as the, you know, leader of this franchise, the face of this franchise, if you will. If he goes out there and helps his team go ahead and secure a victory, I think, you know, obviously we heard the chants last week at Soldier Field where we want Fields back, and you know, I thought I was the only one in the crowd who wanted Fields back, but it sounds like there's a lot of people out there that want Justin back as well. So that's you know, that's good to hear. But go out there, you lead this team to a victory. Obviously, I think then that cements Eberflus coming back. I think that helps a great deal in terms of Justin being the guy here moving on in the future. And I think that sends a message now to the rest of the division saying, hey, you know what? You essentially, the Bears beat all three. Well, we'll have beaten all three if they win here on Sunday in Green Bay. And that this is a young up-and-coming team. It's no longer just a automatic win on your schedule, Green Bay, Detroit, or Minnesota. This is a team that if they continue on this path, continue building, you know, a couple pieces here on defense, a couple pieces on offense, and continue, you know, maybe another new play caller, we'll see, but, you know, continue building there. And you have a young, you know, roster that's developing and coming for, you know, what Ryan Poles said initially, they're coming for that North and they're going to try and take it and keep it or something like that.
Mm-hmm. Never let it go. How about you, Alyssa?
Yeah. I mean, this rivalry, this game, I mean, means everything. Just like you said, I've hated the Packers for as long as I can imagine. Obviously, I don't like the other NFC North teams. But like just the hatred for the Packers is unlike anything that I've experienced. And it comes from a lot of losing. a lot of disappointment, a lot of just agonizing moments, losses. I mean, you just kind of look back to the fact that the Bears haven't beaten them since 2018, when that was the last time they'd won the NFC North too. And since then, it's just been 9 straight agonizing losses. You know, there's been a lot of bad losses during that streak, but then you kind of go back to week 1 and that hangs over me like a black cloud. Like we've been talking about it. That one I'm still mad about. The hype and anticipation going into that game this season, and then the high expectations, and then just immediately crashing back down to earth. It was a gut punch because this was supposed to be the year that the Bears finally took back the rivalry. And I've been a part of another one of these one-sided rivalries. As a Michigan fan, it was the same thing every time they played Ohio State. They would lose, and lose badly, and in heartbreaking fashion. Michigan had lost 15 to 16 games since I'd been a fan, until they turned it around in 2021. And now they've taken back control of the rivalry. Look at me hitting the microphone now, winning 3 straight. So what I've learned from that rivalry is that eventually the tide does turn. Things do get better. They will get better. And all it takes is one win to get the ball rolling. I mean, this would just be one hell of a way to close out the 2023 season. Beating the Packers, doing our part to keep them out of the playoffs, and rolling into the offseason with arguably their best win in years. I want it. I need it. And I think that we all deserve it. Man. And like Danny said too, just what it would do for Justin Fields. And like John, you were mentioning too, that this game just means something different. We know this means something different to the McCaskies. This means something different to Virginia. Like if they go out there and win this game, it just feels like it'd be a statement. And again, it would be nice to come onto Buffone 55 and actually celebrate a Bears victory over the Packers. Never happened yet since I've been on this show. So I'm really hoping that eventually, I don't know, before I die, that we could celebrate a Bears victory over the Packers on Buffone 55.
I just remember all 3 of us that first week, that was a gut punch to all 3 of us. And we just came back next week and we're dejected. I mean, this is a perfect way to redeem yourself, Bears. Go out there, knock these guys out. This to me, if I'm Eberflus and the staff, this is how I'm building it to these players. This is a playoff team. This is a playoff game. This is going to be a playoff atmosphere here for you guys. Get used to it. This is how it feels. Guys want to be in the real playoffs? This is how it feels. Let's go on. And so this is again a building block, a building stone for this franchise and for this regime, if you will. So that's how I would sell it if I'm the coaching staff.
Absolutely, because if you want to build a culture of winning, then taking your biggest rivalry out of the playoffs is a great foundation to lay that on. Even if you don't yourself have anything to play for. And just to reiterate, I know if you've listened to this show in the past, I've brought these numbers up before, but in 1992, Brett Favre's first year as the Green Bay Packers quarterback, the Bears were leading this rivalry 81-58. Now, I'm not great with math, but is that 24? Is that 23, 24 games? That's like 12 seasons worth of games there that they were up by on the Packers. And then after 1992, they fell apart. In the 90s, they lost to the Packers. The series was 13-7. That's the Packers won 13, the Bears won 7 in the 1990s. In the 2000s, the Packers won 12, the Bears won 8. In the 2010s, the Packers won 17, the Bears won 4.
Wow.
The 2010s, the Packers won the rivalry 17-4. And currently, in the 2020s, they are up 7-0. I'm tired of this. I'm so over this. We've lost 3 straight decades to the Packers. After having 24 games up on the rivalry, they're down. What did I say? 106-95 or whatever the hell it is now.
So John, on the flip side, and Alyssa as well, if hopefully this doesn't happen, but what if the Bears get blown out by the Packers? Do we come here next week talking about fire everyone and get rid of everyone? Is that what we're doing?
Probably. That's what we do.
Yes.
We're overreactors. That's what we do.
Yep.
That's what we did after week 1. We might as well do it after week 18. We might as well just say they lost to the Packers again. Turn Soldier Field into a parking lot. I'm done with this team. That's it. fire everyone. But because then we don't even have a game to fall back on at that point. Then we just gotta yell and scream the entire offseason. And then around June, July, August, we start giving ourselves all that hope again, as if this is the year. This is the year. This is what we do. Bears fans are eerily resilient. I mean, we're miserable, but we're eerily resilient in telling ourselves that you know what, Marcus Wheaton could be a good receiver. You going back to we got some players. I mean, Mike Glennon's pretty good.
You didn't tell me I needed to bring alcohol to this podcast tonight, guys. I didn't know.
We do this all the time. It's just like, you know what? We're going into this. We got Equinemius St. Brown, and
remember Marquise Wilson was supposed to be a speedster.
Yeah, and you guys remember Devin Aramashidu was going to be a Hall of Famer after he caught that ball from Jay Cutler, and so it's
don't forget the big trade, 2017 for Dontrell Inman.
Dontrell Inman from the Chargers. That was a big mid-season.
Over the hump.
That was the missing piece right there. So all of that to say that we do talk ourselves into believing this because we have to. That's all we have, and eventually the Bears are going to pay us off for that. I have faith. I don't know what decade it's going to be, but eventually the Bears are going to pay us. They're going to pay us back for everything that we put into it emotionally. The payoff's coming, guys. The payoff
and wheelchairs.
Well, as long as it's not 2055 when it's like a 70-year drought, that's fine. But
oh god, oh no.
Yeah. Well, we won't get there. But wrap up the show. This was our final preview show of the season. Very sad, I know. Before we shut it down, Alyssa, tell us what's happening over at BearsWire.com for the last game of the season, and then what happens once Week 18's over.
Yeah, so make sure you check out BearsWire.com. We're bringing you our final game week of the season, getting you ready before, during, and after the game. And obviously with the off season just days away, we're going to have plenty of coverage, including plenty of Justin Fields draft, Caleb Williams, all of that stuff coverage. So make sure you're staying there. Cause I mean, I feel like the off season is when we shine over at Bears Wire. So make sure you check that out.
Excellent. And Danny, speaking about time to shine, the regular season is coming to a close, and so is the college football season. You're about to hit your biggest time of the year. Oh, that's right. You got to get that Go Big Blue. I forgot that you're such a big Michigan. I always forget about that. We never talk about that.
Never.
I'm sure we will talk about it next week one way or another. I'm sure that will be brought up.
It's good.
What can people expect from you moving forward, Danny? Big time of the year. Bears fans are really interested in what's going on with this draft.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, obviously after the game on Sunday, we'll do myself and Coach T will do the Bear football post game show, and after that, it's going to be, I think, one more show of Buffone 55, and then it's full speed draft on tap, previewing the prospects. I've already looked at a ton of the position groups here. Just did some overview here of some of the top guys, and then obviously the juniors are declaring now, so. I like to wait till all the juniors kind of declare, and then before I start digging into their tape. But I do have an understanding of what's going on here. Obviously, Senior Bowl, the big showcase there for some of these prospects this year. There's some different rules in which they will allow underclassmen to attend the Senior Bowl, and those invitations already gone out. And I think this end of this week or next week they're going to announce the players that have accepted invitations to go down to Mobile and Senior Bowl. So that starts a process, and then pretty soon after that will be the combine. And also, like Alyssa said, there's going to be a lot of talk here about quarterbacks and receivers and offensive linemen and defensive linemen, edge rushers. So, I hope you guys join us all here on Draft on Tap as myself and Aldo will go ahead and break down these prospects and give you all types of formations and kinds of trades and kind of players you can bring in here and fits and schemes. And another thing that's going to dictate that is are there going to be any changes to the staff, whether it's offensive play caller, it's defensive play caller, what's going to happen here. So a lot to happen here once the season ends, and stay tuned to the Ballroom Network here for all the late breaking stuff.
Oh, that's right. We got content all the time, off season, during the season. There's probably a new show every single day that you can listen to on the Ballroom Network. And like Danny said, don't forget to join him, myself, and Coach T for Bear Football, our post-game show. The three of us will share immediate reactions, carry Coach Eberflus and Justin Fields' press conference, break down key plays of the game, and probably get into some off-season predictions as well. So you don't want to miss that. Set the alarm, set the alert for that. As soon as the clock hits triple zeros, we go live. We give it instant. I'm talking instant reaction to that game. So make sure that you're tuned in for that. But that will do it for us tonight. For Buffone 55, for Alyssa Barbieri and Danny Shimon, I'm John Buffone. We'll see you next week for the season finale of Buffone 55. You are not going to want to miss this one. Good night, everybody.